Praise the Lord. Just like the increase of Christ, there is a purpose behind this decreasing of self. And as we've said, that there is a specific result intended, and we will be discussing this goal, this result today. John the Baptist tells us that Jesus must increase and I, that is self, must decrease. But what is the purpose and what is the goal? What is all this increasing and decreasing leading towards? Paul reveals this mystery to us in Galatians 2:20. I am crucified with Christ, nevertheless I live, yet not I, but Christ lives in me. Now notice the four words, not I, but Christ. Not I, but Christ is the secret of living the Christian life, as well as the end result of all that this increasing and decreasing. What does this mean? Simply put, Christ was steadily increasing in Paul, and Paul was steadily decreasing until the day came when there was no more of Christ to be seen in Paul than Paul. In other words, Paul was so diminished and Christ was so revealed through this man that Jesus in Paul became greater than Paul. On that day and every day thereafter, Paul could truthfully say, not I, but Christ. If Jesus must increase, then Paul must decrease. Then it stands to reason that one day Paul would be overshadowed altogether. This is the glorious outcome of God, what God intends for every disciple. Now, this does not suggest that the end of Paul's existence. In the kingdom of God, death is not the end, it is the beginning. Paul lives on, but it is different kind of life that causes Paul to live on. I am crucified, nevertheless I live, yet not I. What is Paul describing is death and resurrection. He lived, he died, and he lives again. But the life he lives now is not his own life. It is the life of another. So Paul lives, but Paul is not what he used to be. After many seasons of walking with God and going through many temptation, tests, and trials and affliction, Christ was increased while Paul was decreased. And when we rightly interpret these experiences, then we too will reach the same result. Everything we experience is an opportunity to see Christ increased and self decreased. Eventually, Christ in us will have more influence than self. When that happens, we will find ourselves on resurrection ground. That is why we say that the fundamental need of a disciple of Jesus is not more power, but more brokenness. With less of me, there can be more of Him. And with more of Him, there has to be less of me. When a person is sufficiently broken, then Jesus will be increased in them. This is the universal principle. The good news is that we do not have to do anything to make this happen. But it must be so, therefore it is so. Jesus must increase, therefore He will increase, and He is increasing. In the like manner, I must decrease, therefore I will decrease, and I am decreasing. The instrument that God uses to accomplish this decrease is something you are probably familiar with. We'll find out more about that in our next lesson. I must decrease, the instrument. Till then, listen to this message again. Be blessed.